Ladies and gentlemen, in this Red Gaming video, Microsoft will open up the Xbox One to application and cross-platform applications. At least that's what the current rumours are stating. So you might know that one of the key features of the Xbox One is the ability for any retail Xbox One, in other words, you go down to your local game store, you buy that Xbox One, you bring it home, and it can act as a, well, development machine. This is pretty awesome in my personal opinion. And Microsoft have gone backwards and forwards, or at least the rumours on Microsoft plans for opening up the Xbox One's infrastructure for cross-platforms to more developers have gone backwards and forwards for some time. Way back in 2013, things seemed to be pretty positive, but then Microsoft seemed to abandon the ship, but then Microsoft have said, hey, that's actually inaccurate later on, and since then, rumours seem to be a bit on hold. However, we've learned that most likely this April at the Build Developer Conference, we're going to know a heck of a lot more. And supposedly a month later, so that would be May, Microsoft will start publishing an SDK, Source Development Kit preview, alongside loads of documentation, and that will allow you to run and turn a retail console into a development kit with just a flick of a switch, effectively. So this is quite an exciting possibility, at least in my mind, but it does raise a lot of questions. So first of all, let's discuss what this could possibly mean and how it impacts us now. So I'm sure we're aware that the Xbox One's SDK has leaked onto the internet, but for all intents and purposes, there are a couple of points. The first is that not all of the documentation has been leaked. That's very important and something that a lot of websites aren't actually stating, but it's really true. There's a lot of stuff regarding the GPU, CPU optimizations, the actual infrastructure of the machine as a whole that's simply missing. And although we have done, of course, full analysis of the SDK documents, well, actually we've still got the audio sections to do, of the current documents that are out there, there is definitely still bits of information that we're still in the dark on. The second point, and possibly more pertinent to this type of discussion, is that while we do have access to the development kit and we do know roughly how to produce code, you can't do anything with it. So, for example, you could load up Visual Studio, you could write a piece of code that would run on the system, but there's no way to actually put it onto the Xbox One. Why? Because everything's effectively locked down and you need a special account to do anything like that, and that allows you to basically change the machine into a development machine. So because of this, right now things are a little bit like, well, we kind of know some of the stuff that the machine can do, but how this is going to affect the larger infrastructure of the machine is still unknown. What Microsoft are supposedly referring to, however, is almost like the Windows Store, which is available, of course, for Windows. In other words, you can download small applications, and those applications could be a myriad of different purposes. They could, for example, allow you to have audio running in the background, so that's great if you like listening to certain audio tracks while you're gaming, or, and one possibility would be emulators. However, the emulator question is a bit tricky. Certain emulators could easily run on the Xbox One without any effort at all. For example, SNES or Genesis emulators could easily run on just a fraction of one of the Xbox One's CPU cores, and it would be pretty much perfect. For example, you could port ZSNES or Gens or something like that. Not a problem. Some emulators, like for example Dolphin, are definitely more CPU hungry. And even on the PC, they do require a high-end CPU. Although the application is fairly multi-core orientated, it maybe would require even further optimizations across multiple cores and definitely a lot of tweaking. Let's go with tweaking. But the bigger question is, would Microsoft even allow those type of applications to run? Because one would assume that there is going to be quality control with those applications, but furthermore that Microsoft may not want the legal headaches of these applications on their store. For obvious reasons, legal liability. With that said, if you do some searching on various emulators, they are available currently on the Windows Store, so it's a bit of a mystery regarding how the console's future is going to progress like that. Another point is, do remember that at the end of the day, that Microsoft are not giving away the security keys for the console. So, yes, you will be able to develop titles technically for the Xbox One, but this probably will not mean that we're going to be seeing backups anytime soon running on the system. In other words, it's not going to allow you to burn like a DVD or a Blu-ray disc and then put it into your retail machine, because obviously the security methods are still in place, and at the end of the day you're probably not going to be able to access any real core operating system functions. Another rather large question, and one that Microsoft and a lot of developers aren't really answering right now, is concerning Kinect. So I'm sure you're aware that various Xbox One SDK updates have taken place, which changes the way that current AAA developers are able to utilize Kinect. In other words, they're allowed to pretty much disable most of the features and functionality, and thus would improve CPU, GPU, and memory bandwidth performance for the Xbox One. In other words, it's not reserving portions of that to run Kinect. But a bigger question is exactly the Kinect performance and actually how it actually runs, because there have been some reports, several reports from anonymous developers, and obviously the reason those reports are anonymous is because they don't want to get in trouble with Microsoft, that the performance for Kinect just isn't really where it should be. And exactly what that means and how it impacts the system is unknown. Furthermore, Microsoft may choose to not allow Kinect to even function with universal applications, which would be a bit of a shame, at least in my personal opinion, but who the hell knows. And there are some possible security and privacy reasons behind that, and I'm sure you can guess kind of what those would really entail. Now, from what's being reported, Microsoft are planning to coincide most of this stuff behind a Windows 10 core update for the Xbox One, and that will take place, of course, this year, 2015. But just what that's going to mean in terms of feature set, yes, I'm sure that many of you are screaming DirectX 12, and yes, that's probably going to be one of them, but the others are unknown. In other words, is it going to make like a massive difference to the performance of the machine? Is it going to really make a difference to, say, the GUI? Is it going to allow or provide extra functionality, or even Microsoft going to take the opportunity to change various parts of the system? One thing they can't do is increase the operating system's memory footprint. In other words, they can't just, for example, make the OS swell to take up 3.5 gigabytes of memory simply because it would, well, stop games running. They would crash, because obviously they're already allocated a certain amount of space, but Microsoft may choose to even shrink the memory footprint a little bit. Obviously, it does depend on what they do in terms of how optimized they can make the core and how shrunk down they can make it. But definitely there are some performance potentials there. But that obviously isn't really linked specifically to opening up the store, but or cross-platform apps. But it is a nice thing to kind of discuss anyway. Naturally, we will cover this on RGT when it pops up. I'm actually kind of looking forward to trying this sucker out. So with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.